discussion on many aspects of housing, but we came up finally with the 3 priorities. The first one being genuinely affordable housing. Some of the action points we felt that were important for actually achieving that priority would be to try and get empty homes back in use. I think somebody mentioned the figure around Wiltshire, something like 5,000 empty properties, whether they're above shops or whatever it might be, or not being actually utilised by landlords, is to try and get those empty houses back into use. Perhaps be a bit more serious about tax on second homes, possibly to change social housing criteria, because it's not very helpful towards certain members of our society in being able to obtain properties. Local houses for local people, really. There was quite a bit of discussion about, within certain villages, villages want the houses that are being built in those villages to be available for local people so that they can actually stay in those villages. And perhaps look at, again, the key worker housing, so that, key workers can make sure they would have houses available to them in certain areas. Second priority we talked about was fuel poverty. Make sure that appropriate benefits are taken up by people, and possibly get a bit more serious on tackling cowboy builders. New housing standards, making sure they're adhered to, and so that new houses are actually really well up to standard in terms of being efficient. Community purchase schemes, that might be something else that we might look at with regard to fuel poverty as well. The third thing was jobs to go with housing, really. There was much discussion about the fact that rural broadband in some of our villages is not as good as it should be. There's been some work I know being done with Wiltshire Council with regard to that, but maybe that sort of area needs to be speeded up a little bit. To look at tertiary education opportunities, a little bit limited in southern Wiltshire, really, and to look maybe at trying to get some cheaper public transport to support that. That's about all we came up with. Okay, thank you.
We discussed all 4 of the items that were listed in the JSA, and the key issues were better management of water supply and demand. Locally, you can promote the use of toilet hippos and the use of water bucks, but we also discussed the larger water management issues of runoff from tarmac and running into the sea more quickly than we would like, perhaps hanging on to our water and letting it soak down to the aquifer and raise the water table level to give us water longer term. Look to establishing communal waste recycling places for people in flats and terraced houses. Sometimes it's very difficult to store your recycling bins if you have nowhere to put them. We also looked at energy efficiency for older housing stock, the non-standard type. Are they energy efficient, and if not, what can be done for them? We also looked at wildlife diversification on the verges, encouraging more wildlife and trying to use those to link up with other wildlife areas. Rather than having isolated pockets, these could help form wildlife corridors. We also heard from the Wiltshire Wildlife Trust about a project called From Source to Sea, which will hopefully promote the eradication of invasive plants from the Avon and its tributaries. But this will need hundreds of volunteers working in conjunction with each other, and we were asked to write to the Regional Director of the Environment Agency to ask if they could please back this project. Thank you.